How would you like to beat your friends in Pokemon Champions with Ariados? Well, as it turns out, it's not actually the worst pick. As a matter of fact, there are plenty of anti-meta Pokemon that we can talk about today. So if you're one of those people that really hates playing into the meta teams, into the Aerodactyls, the Garchomps, the Sneaslers, there is hope for you. You can run some pretty weird Pokemon that actually do have some merit to them, some competitive success. So we're going to be talking about 5 anti-meta Pokemon today that you can run on your Pokemon Champions teams and explaining what actually gives them merit in this format. This is not a super edited video. I know Wednesday is supposed to be the edited video. You're going to get your edited video on Friday. I have been very busy this week with personal things. So yeah, let me know what you guys want me to talk about next, but let's go ahead and begin. Let's just get right into it. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, all of that. And hey, you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Lumio City. Let's just begin. Okay, so I have 5 Pokemon I want to talk about today. They're going to be Meowscarada, Ariados, Espathra, Zoroark, Hisui, and Sableye. These are all Pokemon who have very good matchups into meta Pokemon right now and actually do have the data to back up their usage in this format. So I do want to start off with Meowscarada. We'll just get right into it. Meowscarada has a few things going for it, but what it most notably has going for it is its speed stat and its ability Protean. Now, Meowscarada, its best move in this format, ironically, is not Flower Trick. Its best move is Triple Axle. Protean is an ability which causes Meowscarada to turn into whatever type move it uses first. So with Scarf Meowscarada, you're entering a speed tier that not many Pokemon can compete with. You are actually faster than Mega Aerodactyl, which is the fastest relevant Pokemon in the format, barring other Scarf users and Unburdened Sneasler. But Meowscarada has a very good matchup into Mega Aerodactyl, which is one of the best Pokemon in the metagame right now, next to things like Sneasler and Garchomp. And let me tell you something, Scarf Meowscarada is a dangerous Pokemon. Let me show you this real quick. Meowscarada, with the Scarf, Adamant, Max Attack, is dealing into Aerodactyl, offensive Mega or Sash. The good news about this Pokemon is that even if it is going into a Sash Pokemon, it's a multi-hit move. You bypass the Focus Sash on base Aerodactyl. But into the offensive Mega Aerodactyl, Triple Axle is dealing 147% if you hit all 3, which is very likely. Triple Axle is a move which rarely doesn't get all 3 hits. It's considered pretty unlucky if you don't get all 3. But also it deals with the Garchomp next to it. As you can see, into Scarf Garchomp, you are going to be faster than that. You also are able to Triple Axle it and deal minimum 229 damage, or 229% to it. But even better, just to showcase the sheer amount of damage output that Adamant Scarf Meowscarada has in this format, into Sneasler, it is a 97% chance to one-shot opposing Sneasler with your Scarf Meowscarada. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can set this up, obviously. I don't have like a example Meowscarada team on me right now, but I can just throw one together for you. If you want to use Meowscarada, you want to go ahead and run like that Choice Scarf set on it. Let's go ahead and grab that. Bing. Boop. Scarf Meowscarada. Now, how do I guarantee that I get my Triple Axle off? Well, there's a few ways you can do it. And honestly, like if you want to just lean into things that are really good right now, you could just put it next to your own Incineroar or Sneasler. I would actually recommend technically Sneasler if you want to guarantee it, because not only is your team a lot more girly pop, but also now you have access to the fastest fake out in the game, meaning that technically, Meowscarada is the fastest fake out in the game, actually. I always forget about that. But you don't run fake out on Meowscarada on this set. Actually, does it get fake out? Oh, I'm completely wrong about that. I thought I had fake out. It's a cat. They always get fake out. But no, you're able to fake out opposing Sneasler or whatever Pokemon's in front of it, and then guarantee that you get your Triple Axle off into opposing Aerodactyl, Sneasler, whatever. And that's really good. But even beyond that, like you have other options. You could use like a Farigiraf if you really wanted to, as Farigiraf's ability, Armor Tail prevents you from having to deal with priority moves into your side of the field and allows you to enable a bunch of other playstyles. So if you want to go super anti-meta, Camera Up is right there. You can play like a Trick Room team, even you even have like the option of running like a Mega Crabominable or something, so that's pretty good. But yeah, for the most part, it's just gonna be like Meowscarada thrown onto a team as a way to deal with that lead, because Meowscarada is a very dangerous Pokemon in the right position. The fact that it's able to one-shot 3 of like the top 5 Pokemon in the metagame with a single move is really dangerous, and while it doesn't do a ton beyond that, you do have to acknowledge that it does have just good damage output overall. I mean, here's the thing, right? I showed you the calc into the Sneasler. Charizard Y has pretty comparable bulk to Sneasler. A lot of people forget about that. Triple Axle after a fake out, is KOing the Charizard. If you manage to deal like, I don't know, 7% with a fake out. You do 7% with a fake out, right? Now your triple axle has a, well, that's 1% chance. Let's say you do 10, right? There's a shot. There's actually a pretty good shot that you actually get the KO with the triple axe after just a little bit of chip damage. Maybe not like a fake out, and especially strong fake out for sure, right? Some fake outs are stronger than others, but some are pretty weak. But yeah, Meowscarada is in a very good place in the metagame right now. It's just a generally solid lead. U-turn, triple axle, Flower Trick, and Knockoff are like your best moves on it. And I think that it being one of the fastest scarf users in the format means that it having access to Knockoff is actually way more beneficial than you would think it is. And that's because speed tiers are calculated dynamically throughout the game, right? So if you go for a Knockoff into an opposing Scarf Pokemon, most probably gonna be like a Scarf Garchomp, right? You do remove the Scarf before they get to move. Yeah, you can triple axle, but like I'm using Garchomp as a random example here. There's a bunch of Scarf Pokemon that you could run into right now. You remove their Scarf, and now your partner Pokemon moves first, and now you just dealt with that thing before it could even get set up. And even then, there's a lot of really annoying Pokemon in this format that not a lot of Pokemon can one-shot. For example, Milotic. One of the most annoying Pokemon in the game that actually boosts its defense stats. Flower Trick isn't a guaranteed one-shot against max defense Milotic, but you have to keep in mind that Flower Trick always critting means that you're going to bypass the defense boost that it gets from using Coil. You're always going to be doing 75 to 89 to Milotic, and if you get it in range, that is just a KO in your favor. So yeah, also just generally on lead, U-turn Meowscarada is a pretty powerful Pokemon, so you have to keep that in mind. But yeah, Meowscarada is very good right now. I just felt the need to talk about it a little bit because a lot of people are like, how do I deal with Aerodactyl? How do I get around that Pokemon? And turns out the answer is right in front of us. It was Meowscarada. Second Pokemon I want to talk about, a champion, actually. The Global Challenge was won by Fede Campo, one of the best players on Earth right now. I don't know how he's doing on Mars, but yeah, it was run by Fede Campo, who actually ran an Aerodactyl, Garchomp, Charizard, Sylveon, Basculegion, and Ariados team. Now, normally, this archetype, which is currently considered like the best archetype in the game, would drop the Ariados and it would be a King Gambit. Because King Gambit just rounds things out. It's a very terrifying Pokemon in this metagame. But Ariados is really cool right now because Ariados has access to one very particular trait, and that it's one of very few Pokemon that can resist both Close Combat from Sneasler and Dire Claw from Sneasler. That is really cool. Insomnia also means that it's going to be immune to sleep moves, whether that be Sleep Powder from opposing Charizard Venusaur teams or Hypnosis Coil Milotics. You're going to be able to avoid that entirely. And it's also just a good redirector. If you run Rage Powder on it, which you definitely want to, you could redirect moves into the Ariados, meaning that Ariados is going to take all the hits while your partner Pokemon's able to swing, and that means that you can redirect annoying moves like those sleep moves into your Ariados, meaning that they get to do nothing for the first couple turns of the game. Its bulk is also, frankly, kind of good. Ariados' bulk means that it's able to, with this spread that Fede ran, it's able to tank a Adamant Wave Crash from Max Attack Basculegion. Let me actually show you that real quick. Instead of just telling you. You can see Basculegion, Scarf Adaptability, Wave Crash. It's doing 77 to 90% to this thing. But yeah, and also it just has like a really good matchup into a few different Pokemon in the format. Sylveon, for one. Fairy Feather Sylveon is very strong right now. It's going to be eating up that Hyper Voice like it's nothing. You can even knock off the Fairy Feather, reducing the damage even further, because now it's only going to be doing like 25%. And yeah, Sylveon really relies on that Fairy Feather for a lot of its damage. And even Floette Eternal does not really like having to deal with this Pokemon, because Timid, Max Special Attack, Light of Ruin, let's even go Modest, it's not a one-shot. It will have to click Dazzling Gleam, which it is still Dazzling Gleam from Mega Floette, right? It's still a stupidly powerful move, but the fact that it doesn't get to click Light of Ruin or Moonblast into things, the move that one-shots Pokemon, frankly, means that you're going to be slowing down this thing's offense quite a bit. And speaking of slowing down, it also has access to one of the best speed control moves in the game. The only issue is that this move is given to garbage Pokemon. String Shot is a very good move, if you didn't know. String Shot is only available on Volcarona, Ariados, Beedrill, Slurpuff. Slurpuff's actually really funny, and Vivillon in this game right now. And String Shot is really cool because it is basically either anti-Tailwind or a pseudo-Tailwind for you. String Shot lowers the speed stat of both opposing Pokemon by 2. And that is huge because you basically say, oh, you tailwinded? Well, actually, no, you didn't. Or it says, hey, instead of setting up 3 turns of tailwind on my side of the field, I'm going to effectively give myself a permanent tailwind, at least until you switch out. So String Shot is very strong on Ariados. The one downside to running String Shot that you have to keep in mind is that Ariados does not want to String Shot into Milotic or King Gambit because of their abilities Defiant and Competitive. Normally, intimidating a King Gambit, it sucks. It's awful when you do it because you give him a free attack boost. But the Intimidate makes you forget that Defiant is not a +1 attack boost. It is +2. They are going to get a free Swords Dance off if you String Shot them, so be careful with that. But yeah, overall, Ariados is just a very solid Pokemon right now, and you can run like whatever final 2 moves you want. I think Protect is like objectively correct, but Knockoff is also probably the correct choice. That being said, you do have a couple of other options. Mega Horn gives you the best solid damage output for just like having stab damage. Like, and keep in mind, it only has like 90 attacks, so you have to calculate that when you're figuring out your final move. Shadow Sneak could be kind of useful. It's a priority move. Sucker Punch is somewhat useful, and even like Poison Jab is useful. But here's the thing. I think that you don't want to run Poison Jab on this thing. I think Knockoff is usually correct, because if we do take a look at this, Poison Jab, as strong as it is into fairy types, because you can't really afford to run a lot of attack into your Ariados, if any, you're not going to be able to one-shot Pokemon with Poison Jab. Yeah, it is a 2-shot into Floette, and that is like kind of cool, but you can just leave dealing with Floette to other Pokemon. You know, you're already redirecting the hits. You don't need to like put so much burden onto Ariados. But Ariados running Knockoff is going to get you the most value out of it. Like I mentioned with Meowscarada, it's good for removing Scarfs. It's good for removing berries. It's good for removing, I don't know, a Mental Herb or something. Yeah, just being able to remove items with Ariados is going to be generally useful for you. So yeah, Ariados, strangely good in this format. Now that I've dealt with the 2 Pokemon on the thumbnail, and we're 12 minutes into the video, I can talk about 3 other Pokemon, and we'll talk about Sableye last, because I feel like Sableye is just, everyone knows about Sableye, but I do want to mention it a little bit, because it is in a very good spot in the metagame. Espathra. What happened? Espathra is good now. So here's the thing. The speed tiers in this game are all messed up, in that if you are above 100, you're ballin', and if you're above 130, you're absolutely ballin' in ways that you could not conceive before. Most notably, Mega Aerodactyl, Mega Delphox, those sorts of things. Espathra can get there after a single turn, and there's a few ways to run Espathra, and all of them are frankly pretty annoying. If you run Espathra, you're kind of considered a little bit of a villain. But yeah, Espathra has the ability Speed Boost, meaning that after a single turn, Espathra will be able to get a speed tier that is higher than most Pokemon in the game. But also it has the it has access to the move Calm Mind, which will raise its special attack and special defense. And it has the move Baton Pass, meaning that after a single turn, if you Calm Mind up, you get up to +1 speed, +1 special attack, +1 special defense. And if you have a redirector next to you, like a Sinistcha, an Ariados, you can do it again. And that allows you to pass your Espathra boosts to really annoying Pokemon. As a matter of fact, speaking of the global challenge, first place was an Ariados, second place was an Espathra and a Sableye, but we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, Espathra is in a pretty good spot right now. There's a few ways to run it, and this team is absolutely devious. Basically, Espathra is going to go for Calm Mind and Baton Pass into one of 2 Pokemon, and they all are really annoying. Technically 3, you can also do it with Politoed, but it's probably the other ones. Yeah, so if you manage to Baton Pass a Calm Mind into a Archaludon, you basically have permanent light screen on that Archaludon, or an Assault Vest. It's the same defensive boost. So getting 2 of them off means that Archaludon is really difficult to KO, and Archaludon can continue to snowball its special attack set with Electro Shot. The best way to deal with Archaludon, frankly, is to hit it on its special defense for as much damage as you can. And when Espathra takes that one Achilles heel and throws it in the garbage, things get really difficult. But even worse than that, like what could be worse than 1 giant paint bubble? 2 giant paint bubbles. Mega Floette Eternal can also be a Pokemon that gets the Calm Mind and Speed Boost, meaning that one of the best ways to do it, Mega Floette Eternal, frankly, is redirection, switching in a resist, or outspeeding it, which is true for all Pokemon. But what happens when it hits hard enough that resists don't matter, and it's now faster than your Tailwind Pokemon? you lose, frankly. Yeah, Mega Floette can also benefit from the Calm Mind, from getting it baton passed into it. And yeah, this team is extremely devious. And on top of that, you have like the Sableye. We'll talk about Sableye in a second. I'll save that for a little bit. But even then, a non-baton pass Espathra did pretty good. Not in the Malaysia tournament. It was in VR Challenge 2. My friend Dylan Salvanera actually ran an Espathra team. Once again, it also had our Chaldon on it. But this one was pretty interesting because the moveset on the Espathra was actually Speed Boost, Lumina Crash, Dazzling Gleam, Rain Dance. And that's really cool. Lumina Crash is Espathra's signature move, and it's a dangerously powerful move. Lumina Crash is 80 base power, basically same damage as, I don't know, Psychic Noise? I don't know. It's not Psychic. Psychic's 90, but I think Psychic Noise, technically. So it's not like the strongest move, but it has a 100% chance to lower the target's special defense stat by 2, meaning that it snowballs. And not only does it snowball, but it combos with a partner Pokemon. Lumina Crash will allow you to hit the Pokemon before your partner Pokemon attacks, and then if your partner Pokemon uses a special attack, it's going to be hitting for the equivalent of like a super effective damage if it were neutral before. So yeah, that you can figure out why that combos so well with Archaludon. But even then, it combos really well with Mega Dragonite and Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur Espathra is actually really cool. Because one of Mega Venusaur's biggest downfalls is that as bulky as it is, as strong as it is, it doesn't hit super hard with it having like access to basically no setup outside of the move growth. And that's pretty rough for it. But if you're able to lower something special defense stat by 2 and make it so every move is super effective, Venusaur has actually got some pretty solid damage output. If we look at like the bulky offensive one, you know, just 32 into a, I don't know, let's go with like a neutral target. We'll go with Garchomp. Garchomp's actually a pretty good example. And Garchomp gets hit by Lumina Crash, right? Lumina Crash is going to be dealing a decent amount of damage. We'll say that it deals like 30% of the Garchomp. Let's say 28. Yeah, 28% of the Garchomp. And now it's at -2 special defense, right? Now, Mega Venusaur's Giga Drain, because it runs Giga Drain, not Leaf Storm. I don't know why this says Leaf Storm. Mega Venusaur's Giga Drain is picking up that KO. And that's kind of nuts, right? Garchomp just got 1-2 comboed by a Venusaur. You don't even need like max special attack investment. You only need to deal 72% to a Garchomp, right? Actually, let me check what it would be exactly. How much does the Lumina Crash do if you're running just max special attack with the Scarf, right? Timid, or with a max special attack with like a timid nature. Lumina Crash. What is the combo for Garchomp? Lumina Crash, oh my god, wait, that's at -2, my bad. Yeah, it's doing 36% minimum, so that means that Garchomp would be left at 64? That's actually a pretty substantial amount of damage. Really? 36? Dang, okay, all right. And that means that your Venusaur can just pick it up. Bulky Mega Offense, you don't even, I think you could even get away with like running the Bold one. Because Bold 15 is kind of in right now to live the last respects, right? So if you run Bold 15, just like, I don't know, 15, right? Then your Giga Drain at -2 special defense. Yeah, that's still picking up. It's doing 68% minimum. That's like a really cool Pokemon to look into. And of course, like I said, it does combo really well with Archaludon and Politoed and stuff, and especially like Mega Dragonite. Mega Dragonite hits hard, but it doesn't have like the greatest damage output. I think Espathra's especially slept on right now, so that is really cool. Another Pokemon who has done well recently, we need to talk about Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark's pretty cool. It is a Ghost Normal type, and the team that ran it was actually pretty off meta. Let me see if I can pull it up. It was in, oh, this is it. It finished at 24th and 25th in the VR May Challenge 2. This is like a 160 person tournament, so that's actually a 183, so that's a pretty good finish. But as you can see, it was ran with a Whimsicott, Arcanine, Hisuian Zoroark, Basculegion, Floette, and Zarina. And basically, what it does is it is a very annoying Pokemon. It's able to outspeed the vast majority of the metagame with a modest nature, meaning it has good damage output. but it also has access to good support moves while disguising itself as a Basculegion, a Whimsicott, a Zarina, definitely not an Arcanine. Oh wait, no, this Arcanine it can disguise as because it's a Rocket Arcanine. So it can disguise as any one of its partner Pokemon except for Floette Eternal, because Fairy Aura wouldn't activate. And then, as they try to fake you out, they find themselves getting smacked with a few moves. Let's say hypothetically you're leading off with a Sneasler, or you're leading off. Let's put you in the driver's seat. You know, let's make this a good little power fantasy for the Zoroark players out there. You are the Zoroark player, and your opponent, the dork across the table who decided to run a meta team. I'm really pandering to you guys now. Is running a Sneasler and a Garchomp, and ooh, that's got you really mad. You decide to lead off with your Zoroark, and it's disguised as an Arcanine, and your opponent is thinking, this is the freest fake out plus earthquake lead of my life, to which you say, and then you burn both of them with your Scarf Hisuian Zoroark. Obviously, you're going to take an earthquake in the process. You probably want to earthquake you probably want to Will-O-Wisp the Garchomp first. But that is pretty cool. Another thing that it has going for it is that it is immune to Last Respects, Basculegion's best move, because it is a normal type, and you're able to hit it back for super effective damage with Shadow Ball. Obviously, it's going to be doing pretty significant damage. You're going to one-shot Basculegion with Shadow Ball. Let me just show you real quick. Why does it say Bitter Malice? You don't run that. You run Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball. Timid. Actually, you have to run Modest. Your Scarf for a reason. You're Modest for a reason. Yeah. Shadow Ball into 2 HP. It's a very high roll in your favor. 62% chance to OHKO. That's very good. It doesn't have like the best damage output, generally speaking, but it does run Psychic because that's good into Sneasler, which once again, Sneasler runs White Herb right now. So it's going to one-shot Sneasler as White Herb is its best item. Sash is still getting used, but you generally want the White Herb right now to bypass Intimidate and also just get your speed boost a lot easier. So that's really cool. Into Garchomp though. Obviously, Scarf Garchomp's a little bit annoying. You will outspeed it most of the time if it's not Jolly. Your Icy Wind's going to be two-shotting it, which is really good. And your Shadow Ball, while not a two-shot, is still really nice. And just being able to burn it with Will-O-Wisp is going to help you out quite a bit because that Earthquake does hurt. 93%, not fun. So yeah, burning it is heavily advised, but you will live it. I'd like to imagine like their specific spread was a little bit bulkier for tanking particular hits. But yeah, Hisuian Zoroark, not like a terrible place in the metagame. It matches up really well into a lot of really solid Pokemon. It does well into Gengar. It does well into Sneasler. It does well into Garchomp. And it even does well into Basculegion. That being said, you probably don't want to bring it to the King Gambit matchup, which is pretty common. So that's a little bit iffy. All right. Final Pokemon I want to yap about today is going to be Sableye. Sableye is a good Pokemon. Talked about it yesterday, but I do want to talk about it a little bit more today because I was talking about Sableye Archaeodon as a duo. We need to talk about Sableye as an individual because Sableye, that's a demon. We got to send it back where it came from. I don't like him. I'm using him. I have one. I use it all the time. Don't like him though. I shake my head no while I click light screen. So they know that I am well aware of my the flaw of my team here. Yeah, so Sableye is in an especially strong place in the metagame right now for a few reasons. It has no weaknesses as soon as you apply the Roselli Berry. It's only weak to Fairy type moves, so a Roselli Berry allows you to tank basically any Fairy type move you want. And at first I'm like, you know, Sableye, this bulk, right? 32 HP, 25 special defense, but it's 50 base HP and 65 base special defense. Dude, even with the Roselli Berry, you're getting one shot by Floette Eternal, right? No, you're not. You're not actually. Yeah, you're tanking the Moonblast. They have to Light of Ruin you. They have to Light of Ruin you to one-shot you, which means that Sableye kind of gets to do whatever it wants to do turn one. It is a ghost dark type. So it can't be Prankster Encored, it can't be Prankster Disabled, Prankster Taunted, any of that. And it can't be faked out on lead. Sableye has quite the deep bag of tricks. Most notably, people do run dual screens on it. And it usually gets ran next to Archaeodon, but it can be ran on a wide variety of teams. But yeah, so it gets Reflect to cut physical damage, and it gets Light Screen to cut special damage. That being said, there are some players who have seen pretty decent results recently who have dropped the Reflect for... I'm trying to find one. Where's the Sableye? There's a Sableye in a tournament recently. I think it was Malaysia. I don't know where it went, but there was a Sableye in a tournament recently that did drop Reflect for Will-O-Wisp because that is a permanent attack decrease. The only downside is if you run into an Incineroar, can't burn it, run into a Charizard X, can't burn it, run into a King Gambit. One of the worst downsides to running Will-O-Wisp, in my opinion. Not being able to burn King Gambit because King Gambit is a dark type and it is immune to Prankster moves. That is bad. So generally speaking, I would recommend probably just Reflect because it will get you the most bang for your buck. But it's more like Reflect is more consistent, but like Will-O-Wisp has like a higher ceiling of like value. But it also just has a bunch of other really crazy moves. Sunny Day and Rain Dance. Rain Dance is especially common right now because it pairs super well with Archaludon. But beyond that, Encore and Disable. Sableye is able to Encore a Pokemon into a certain move, but most often it'll probably just... Actually, yeah, it depends. But like you can Encore them into, let's say, Flare Blitz, and now they can only Flare Blitz. And then you go, actually, I don't want you to Flare Blitz this turn, disable. And now they don't do anything, and they're locked. They have to just struggle, and that can put them in a really weird position. That's, like, terrifying. Sableye also has another move that is really frustrating, Quash. Quash, if you don't know how it works, it's basically the anti-Quick Claw. Quick Claw does not make you have a priority move. It makes you move first within your priority bracket, which means that if you were to use Tackle this turn and your Quick Claw activates, that means that you will be the first one to move out of every Pokemon who does not have a priority move going off. That's why Quick Claw doesn't get blocked by Psychic Terrain. Quash is the inverse of that. It says whatever priority bracket you're in, you are moving last now. That is incredible because that means that you can pair this thing with like a Sylveon or something. And Sylveon is not the fastest Pokemon, but it does run Hyper Beam right now with a Fairy Feather because that basically gets you similar damage to Light of Ruin. Sableye is able to quash an opposing Garchomp, allowing the Sylveon to go for Hyper Beam. This also applies to any non-Dark type Pokemon because Quash lets you just move first if you do that. Has a bunch of other really annoying moves. Fake Out is incredible on lead. I think it might even get Icy Wind. Does it get Icy Wind? No, it gets Ice Punch. It gets Knock Off, which is really good. It gets Foul Play, which is incredible. But here's the thing. Most Sableye in this metagame don't run any attacks. Sableye is doing all of this work while not even attacking you. It usually just runs 4 support moves. Reflect, Light Screen, Quash, and... was it Reflect, Light Screen, Quash, and Rain Dance is typically what you see on a Rain team, but like you can also just go with Reflect, Light Screen, Encore, Disable, and like that's just as effective. As a matter of fact, I think we saw a team do pretty well with that recently, but I lost the pace, so I can't show you. I'm sorry, I lost the pace, but yeah, these 5 Pokemon are just in a very good space in the metagame. Sableye especially is like probably the most credible of all of them, as it has been doing well in like a lot of tournaments and on ladder. Meowscarada is like more of like a basic, I hate the meta right now, I want to one-shot 3 of the Pokemon that are common kind of pick. Ariados is a generally good support tool that you can look into using if you really want to. Has a good matchup into a lot of things right now, and it can be especially frustrating to play against. Espathra, possibly the biggest sleeper pick right now. Possibly one of the most annoying Pokemon to deal with in the meta. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And Hisuian Zoroark is just a choice Scarfmon that is able to have some motion right now. So yeah, that is going to be it for today's video. I just wanted to talk about 5 anti-meta Pokemon. Like I said, today was supposed to be an edited video. I didn't have time. I'm trying to catch up on all my work right now. I've had so much going on. But I will attempt to catch up, get back to live streaming, and get back into working full gear. It's been a weird week for me. If you guys want to support me, Patreon, Discord, all that, I'm going to start putting out a lot more bonus content for members and Discord stuff, or members and Patrons. So I'm going to get on that this weekend. But thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.